A resident commentator on Sci-Fi Buzz is author Harlan Ellison. He tells us his opinions are personal and don't reflect the views of the Sci-Fi Channel or the series, but Harlan knows what he's talking about because he's written 58 books and more than 1,100 stories, articles, essays, and columns.
Let me tell you about this field, the genre of science fiction fantasy. Everybody knows everybody. It's the most incestuous crowd you ever knew. The reason is that we all know each other because we all write in the field. We all review each other. Anthologists buy stories from their friends, buy them from other writers. And so as a consequence, you always have to be on your best behavior. You can't really tell the truth about a really terrible book that someone has written because they will get very annoyed. Let me tell you a story. A very close friend of mine, a mystery writer, whose name I will not give you. You can put bamboo slivers under my fingernails. I will not give you his name. I had praised a number of his books over a number of years. I loved his work. Really, really enjoyed his books. Just before I was going to England a few years ago, he called and he said, or he wrote, and he said, I've got a new book of short stories coming out, and I'd really like to have a quote from you. And I said, well, have him send me the bound galleys. I'll take a look at them. I'll see if I can give you a quote. And I didn't say I would. I said, I'll see if I can. I read him on the plane. That's the best place to read anything, on a plane. You're trapped. All you want to do is enjoy a book. Well, sadly, they were tired, weary, sad old stories. They were stories he'd written in the earliest days of his career, stories he'd written for Manhunt magazine and the hard-boiled detective magazines. They weren't really very good stories. So now I get to London. And the first thing I did when I got to the hotel was I sat down with my typewriter. I always travel with my typewriter. You see, I'm a writer. And I started to write him a letter. And it was a long letter. It was about 3 or 4 pages, and in the course of it, I tugged my forelock and apologized and said, this is every writer's nightmare come true. This is your friend asking you to say something kind about something that isn't worthy of kindness. I said, but if I gave you a lying, praising quotation for the book, and they put it on the book, you'd never trust me again. You'd never trust my opinion. You'd never trust me when I said, this is a wonderful book, which is what I've said about your books most of the time. And I said, I'm sorry, this time I can't give you a quote. It's not very good. Well, to this day, he's never spoken to me. He refuses my phone calls. He understands how sorry I am that I couldn't do it. He doesn't believe it. When I spoke to him finally, when I managed to get a hold of him, he said, a buddy does for a buddy what a buddy does. In other words, I'm to have no opinion. My opinion is to be bought and sold as cheaply as fish in the market. Unfortunately, that's what happened to poor Stephen King. Stephen King is a kind, good, decent man with a good heart. And he was sent book after book after book to give quotations and endorsements for the jackets and for the blurb matter, for advertising matter. And he did it. I presume he liked the books. I don't think Stephen would lie about a book. But after a while, his name became devalued. Stephen King's recommendation on a book now is of no more importance than mine. When you see mine, you will know that I have lost friends because I will not lie. I will not simply give a quotation on a book because they're a friend. We must resist this, and our friends must understand that it is the quality of the art. It is always and ever the quality of the art that recommends them. That friendship is one thing and art is another. And if I have lost the love of Piers Anthony and Jack Chalker, who is, by my lights, the best titler of stories in the business at the moment, perhaps not the best writer, but the best titler of stories. If I have lost the love of Bill Pronzini and Stephen King and people like that because I have not been able to give them the pro forma quote and pull a little masturbation on the cover for them, they will have to understand that at some point one's ethics compel you to live in loneliness.